This is the Not Bitter, Just Better podcast.
The Everton our way.
Straight from the street end.
Howdy Blues, welcome to Not Bitter, Just Better Everton podcast. Monday, 31st of March, and it's been a little while, hasn't it? Mr. Johnny 7 here, as always, but we've had a little bit of a break as there's been no footy for a little while. Well, no proper footy for a little while, but the Blues are finally back in action this week. The Merseyside derby coming up on Wednesday. I'm recording this on Monday, as I said, 31st, and going to be looking ahead to the derby later on. Look back, even though it's just over a week since we had the second test event at the Bramley, but I've got some thoughts around that. The latest news from the Everton camp, including remarks from former managers Sean Dyche and Marco Silva, which were poles apart, really. Some update on player fitness, international performances, and other little bits and bobs. But starting off with, as I said, just over a week ago, the second test event at the Bramley Moor Dock Stadium. Under 21 game versus Bolton. I think I incorrectly said it was Oldham last time, but Bolton, and there was some synergy in that they were chosen because it was the first they were the first team to play Goodison in 1892. So that was a nice little nod to history. Attendance approximately 25,000, so up a lot on the first test event, which only saw 10,000 Blues in. And the Blues this time did manage to get a win. This kind of thing was less about the result of the game, more about seeing how the increased capacity, quite a large number increase, and how well that functions, and another step towards getting everything cleared and readied, including an early evacuation in the 65th minute, where the final whistle went, and the game just let everyone out. So and all of that seemed to go swimmingly. Kingsford Boaki, I think I've murdered that name. First goal from open play in new stadium history. Of course, the last one was from a penalty and an assist from Roman Dixon. And proper notes this time again. Some player highlights. Boaki demonstrated aerial prowess and keen position, marking him as a promising talent for the senior squad, and that's of course what we want to see from our under-21s. Roman Dixon has been sniffing around the first team for a little while now. Precise cross leading to the goal, highlighting his technical skill. And it's a shame he's not a left back though, isn't it? I think he's a right back, isn't he? Because he could well find himself getting thrown in on Wednesday if he was, but unfortunately not. And Abdullah Al-Hamadi made a surprise appearance in goal. Plays well, but it doesn't look like we're going to take up the option to sign him. But the game itself, as I've mentioned, ahead of it, we ended up going from Segura. So this is Paul from Segura since 1878. That was his first test event on how we could do manage the match day experience from Segura beforehand, and he put 3 coaches on, and we were on one of those and made our way down there, and it went pretty smoothly. I think there was a little bit of confusion after the game where because they had to move. They had to move from where they dropped us off. So, but it was pretty. As I say, it went pretty swimmingly overall. The traffic wasn't overly concerning. It took us about 20 minutes to get from Segura down there in the traffic on the way there, but it was kind of controlled in the way it was kind of bottlenecked. So that added the extra time onto it, but I thought it was pretty smooth, to be honest. It's great to we were in the West Stand this time, where it was on the Upper South last time. Well, I was on the South last time. Our season tickets are in the Upper South, so it was nice to be able to get in there. And in the West Stand, they had the Everton Originals mural, a mock-up of that in place down the West Stand, and that looked great. Seen horrible gobshites again saying that there's no trophies on it. Of course, there's no trophies on it. It's a tribute to former players, you whoppers. So, um, yeah, but that looks great. And put a little video of that out on TikTok and other social media platforms, and people have managed to find their pictures straight away. So that was really nice to see. I can't wait to see the proper version of that in place. But the way it was, we were in the West Stand. I think we were we were on the upper part, or at least the top, not the bottom tier. So you can pretty much walk around 90% of the ground on that in that concourse area there. So that was really nice to see. So we saw spent a lot of time looking out onto the Mersey. And then just had a little bit of a wander in between on the concourse. We spent more time on the concourse area than we did in the actual game, to be honest. But that was it, trying to experience all aspects as we could. The overall fan experience, I'm going to share one of our good old mates' experience of the day, coming from outside of Merseyside, and in comparison to his old match day experience. So I'll play that in a little sex. Really, he sent me this as just as a text on the Facebook page or Messenger or something, and I thought, you know what, I want to hear that. So he sent me a voice clip of it, and it was nice to hear his recollection of the day in comparison to the old experiences when he first started going. So I'll play that in a little sec. But the overall fans experience, very positive. Excellent views all over the stadium. So as I say, I've been the South Stands last time. I tried to sit all over the place there. So I sat in the hybrid terrace and mixed standard area. I found that was a little bit cosy, a little bit snug for us growing fellas. And yeah, that was in the first experience. That was up near the back, right behind the goal. But then I had a little wander over each side of the stadium the first time round, just to get as many views as I could. And so that was the first event this time round, seeing it from the other side as well. Yeah, just hopefully the next I'll be able to get the east stand next time and get a view from there and the north. Obviously, I'd imagine the only one we won't be able to get is the away area in the opposite corner from where we're going to be sat. So, but every view we've had so far. The only niggle I mentioned last time was like in that hybrid standard seating area, the bar is quite snug in front of you. So yeah, that would be my only concern. And like I'm not a small fella, but there are bigger fellas than me, and I imagine they're gonna have a few issues with that as well. So that was my only gripe really. Spacious concourses, and I've seen people saying the concourse is small. I don't know which bit you went into. It was dead. It was. I thought they were dead roomy, and it was like I said it this last time as well. When you go into Wembley and there's that big wide open area, and I thought it was I thought it was great. Loads of space there. The um, the main criticism is like the stone floor. I haven't got anything on that here. Yeah, just the stone floor. People saying that should be painted blue, and obviously there's a lack of real nods of like branding and history of the club there. Apart from that, forever Everton Originals um, uh, collage. So imagine there's going to be all kinds of stuff added over the rest of the summer. So we'll start to see a lot more personality in there as it goes on. So can't wait to see that. Saying about the concrete floor, um, yeah, that really could would do with being blue. Another minor gripe as well. People littering already. We've got this big, nice, fancy stadium. I think Matt, who's clip I'll playing a little bit, mentioned that as well. Just use the bins. But saying that, the bins were overflowing, and the toilets look lovely, but they've got these little tiny waste paper bins, and they've got no hand dryers. So that's a strange choice moving forward when we're meant to be this this super modern stadium. Yeah, those bins were overflowing in the first half. So that's something that they're going to have to get on top of. So the atmosphere was vibrant despite the reduced capacity and reflecting strong support and enthusiasm. And that was the build up beforehand in the fan plaza. That was great. We didn't get there quite in time to see the performances, but there's loads and loads of scope for loads of different events and stuff going on there. There was the bar was reasonably priced outside. It was like a little marquee tent with I think 4.50 the drinks were for a pint there, so that was decent. Um, the strange thing is, you couldn't take any drinks into the stadium. So I had like a plastic cup with Coke in, and you couldn't take even open um, drinks in or open bottles or any food or drink in at all. And I thought um, that was a little bit strange, even into the fan plaza. And whether that was a safety thing or whether that's a money thing. But I think a lot of venues are quite open now. If you've got an open drink and not alcohol in it, then a lot of companies will be okay with that. But I guess whilst they're working this out, that wasn't allowed in Bramley. So that's very, very, very minor gripes. Yeah, and there seem to be loads of food options outside as well. Some of the areas for improvement. So one or two little things about just the general kind of design and stuff. That's going to come with time. Reports of some congestion, particularly near food and beverage kiosks in the south stands. So that was one of the busier areas, and they sold out quite quick of different food options. I think that's something again test event. This is something that's going to be ironed out as well, I imagine. One of my personal gripes was 4.50 for a little can, well, 330 ml can of, I think might have been Corona. Was it Corona or Peroni? Anyway, 4.50 for a little can. Yeah, it wasn't the best, and 4.50 for a little thing of cider as well. So my own personal gripes there, but once you're in there, you pay what it is, don't you? I'd imagine once they got the draft on system, you're going to look like 5.50, 5.70, something like that, which is what you pay for a pint generally these days in most places in town. So not horrendous. I've seen a few gripes about the food, saying £6 for a pie. That's shocking. And tenner for the bowl deals. And I think they had a vegan option there as well. I didn't try that. I haven't tried those yet. So they do. I've seen some people say that they don't have an awful lot to offer there, but I seem to think there's more on offer there than there is in Goodison at the moment, and they are trying different things. What I did like a really nice touch, and you'll have seen this doing the rounds on social media. They use blue ketchup on the hot dogs, and I don't eat meat, but yeah, if they get a veggie option, I'd love me a bit of blue ketchup on my snacks in there. So yeah, that'd be good. Overall impression, fans super excited. The overall experience, I think it was 99.9% positive feedback, and I had a few people who went there for the first time, and Paul as well, just saying it's just it's great. It's great. I think he's of the same mentality as a lot of other Blues. They didn't want to go until it was proper and like go out there and when the first team are there, but ultimately both did end up going, and yeah, it was just you can see the excitement. Those 45-year-old fellas just buzzing like little kids. So that was it was good. I've heard stuff like my other half's sister and her lads went. So yeah, and she's great feedback and I can't wait to go back as well. So uh, great to see. Anyway, I'll stop waffling on that, and I'll be back in a minute with some Everton news. But here's Matt's thoughts.
Hi, mate. Just on the test run yesterday, going into the stadium, wow, bloody fantastic. You see it a mile off. So that 30-minute walk, Christ, it was just getting bigger and bigger. It was like, as a kid in the 80s, watching Star Wars, the beginning of Star Wars. You know, when you see that bloody big ship, and then when you get close to it, bag search is part and parcel when you go to big grounds, big venues now, isn't it? You know, got through that all right. Bloody bag search. Yeah, my daughter got a bag searched. Everything went fine, and then we started groping around the stadium, looking at the nods to everything nautical and Everton's history. I like the little plastic flicks in some of the concrete, and also, did you see that there was a small blue wall halfway down near the main entrance, and then we went around the back and we was in the West Upper, and Christ, you sport for choice once you get into the ground for your eats and drinks. But I sound a bit of an old fart when I was disgusted. Well, pissed off that you got a brand new stadium like that and people still want to drop litter all over the place when there's bins. But hey, Christ, it's you can't teach respect like that. But yeah, I think it's going to take a little time to grow me Bromley more. Like everything else, it's very plain. That the walls are plain, but it hasn't had the napalm bomb effect of advertising in the Premier League yet, is it? With every hawker under the sun trying to sell or peddle their wares. You know, that's going to kick off big time once the Premier League comes, no doubt. But yeah, the old match day routine, the whole thing, that's going to change, isn't it? We're not down County Road anymore. But you evolve, don't you? Christ, when I first started going, we used to park up in the Vernon Gangster car park, walk through the park, go into the shop that used to be on the main stand. It used to be a bit like Argos, where you had to shout over what you fancied. Get a match day pin and still dodge the horse shit. But yeah, as you get older, Christ, we started doing the County Road Challenge when we used to get the minibus from our supporters club down there, and I think it was the season we finished in Europe. I was that bevied every bloody game. I thought Marcus Bunk was on the same level as Thierry Henry until I was stone cold sober, and he wasn't. Good effort though, lad. But yeah, now as I've got older, we just I tend to stay over the night instead of driving in and out, and have a few down County Road with yourself and Paul, and get rinsed by Jenny for any spare cash I've got, you know. But yeah, I can see lots of bars cropping out, poking their heads up. It's business opportunity, isn't it? People move on, and why not? But as a miserable git as well now, you know what I mean? I don't want to be sat in a bar with some talented individual with a check shirt and a goatee beard bloody pruning his guitar. I just want to sit there, get rapid bar service, and have a good beer. If there's a bit of footy on the telly, nice one. Just so you can have a yarn with your mates. You know, everything's going to evolve. It's going to evolve, and it's a massively exciting summer coming up, both on the pitch with all the new signings and off the pitch. Christ, when we go down there, it's going to be mental. It was mental having to stop-start, getting over that bridge. But looking back, it's part of the fun. Everything's going to level out, isn't it? It's got to. All right, mate.
News.
Okay, so for the Everton news, I'll start off with I haven't got this on my notes because it's not long since this came out today. The clubs reported a loss of 53.2 million over the last year, and that is down from 89.1 million. So this won't go towards the PSR kind of stuff, but it's nice that it's kind of trending, going up on the positive side of things, down on the less positive or negative side of things. So nearly 90 million. It's not quite halved, but it does seem like we're moving in the right direction. And there still seems like a little bit more movement on there. Obviously, once some of these players get the contracts, the big contracts, once they leave the club as well, I think that's going to have a massive dent in that yearly turnover. Obviously, we're going to have to sign a few players as well. And the disappointing thing is that you've got Keane and potentially Calvert-Lewin, who are going to be both going for nothing, and they're going to have to be replaced with probably big signings. I'm assuming Calvert-Lewin's going. It doesn't look like anything's moving along there, but I mean, he's probably going to get a decent offer from another club who will pay what wages he wants, but I don't know whether it'll be a club of the stature of Everton. And we imagine will be offering a reduced terms contract, but if he can get that elsewhere, I think he might just think, like a lot of Blues do as well, it's time for him to be on his way. Shame that he couldn't quite recapture the form that he had a few years ago. He still uh, scored a lot of important goals for Everton over the years. It's just um, yeah, it just could be time for him to move on. So 27, 28 I think he is now. So, and he hasn't managed to recapture that form. I'd still think that he wasn't quite playing, even when he did have a good long run of games. He wasn't playing at 100%, and he didn't quite get that. And he was being asked to basically a thankless job up there with no service, and no one playing anywhere near him. But then when he did get the chances on one-on-ones and stuff like that, he didn't help himself, did he? So one of those. Um, so yeah, so there's not been a whole lot of movement with that just yet. I think him and Decore are probably amongst the biggest earners, and Keane. Decore, I imagine, there's already been rumours that he's been offered a reduced term contract, and I think he might well. But again, it depends what type of offer he's going to get from elsewhere. If he can get a similar deal to what he's on now on a fat signing on fee, then he's also done his bit at Everton. Scored one of the most important goals in our history against Bournemouth a year or two ago. So um, again, you can't really begrudge him. And if we can get someone in on half the wage who can do a similar job, you've got to be looking towards building for the future rather than having players like that who come towards the end of the career on those wages. So yeah, but we'll see how that goes on towards the end of the season. A few premature reports saying that he's already decided that he wants to go, but there's nothing confirmed on that yet. Um, we've got a couple of former Everton managers speaking out this week. Sean Dyche has started his new job on Talk Sport. He just talks utter cack, that fella. Um, so first of all, he said he was looking forward to starting that. He was open to ideas and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, you weren't open to ideas in the time you spent at Everton, so why are you open to ideas now? But he discussed the significant challenges during his tenure, including financial constraints and squad restructuring. Yeah, we'll go with that. Emphasised that success at troubled clubs should be measured by more than just match results, highlighting efforts in financial restructuring and squad rationalisation. Isn't that what Moyes having to do as well? And I think you can point to that all you want, but you've got your players like your Jake O'Brien's, who didn't get a sniff and has turned it round. A very very few tweaks in the mentality, and just that overall message that's being sent out by the manager, I think, is going a long way. He's also said that he can't believe, the fans, the threatening the board members and all that kind of stuff, and um, I don't know, kind of knocked the fans a lot on that. So he's just, it sounds a lot like sour grapes. Ultimately, he did a job for us, but he still had a run that with Everton that was on a par, as bad as, or even worse than Mike Walker's did. Mike Walker did, all those years ago. So I think he was lucky to still be in a job when he did manage to keep us up the second time round. So um, yeah, and I don't know if he was still in charge now. Just couldn't see where the goals were going to come from. Uh, so anyway, you did what you did. I'm not going to say he did a good job. He did a job, yeah, but I can't ever get my head around that streak that he went on. which was on, as I say, on a par or worse than Mike Walker's run. How he did that with those players is beyond me. But here we go. So from the other side, some nice words. Oh yeah, so he also said he expressed no resentment towards his departure. Sounds like you resent it quite a lot, to be honest. But also stated he was delighted for Moisey and believes a fresh perspective was beneficial for the club. Yeah, no shit. uh, from the other side, some non-sour reflection, and I feel for this fella. I think if you look at the runs that have happened since, where you look at the type of play that's happened since, and what Marco Silva managed to do with Everton, he just kind of lost the club a little bit. But he was nowhere near as bad as Dyche was, and then didn't get given half the amount of time that he did. But he's described Everton as a fascinating club, and said other things like this is the club of the city. You know, in response to Liverpool's success over the years, and saying that Everton's the main club here and stuff. And it's always nice to hear stuff like that, isn't it? He seemed to reflect on his time quite fondly at Everton, and as I say, he continues to do a good job. I said he about a million times then, didn't I? Trying to pick me words. He has done a really good job with Fulham, and he's just does seem like a likable fella as well. So, cheers, Marco. We've got some player fitness updates and coming through the internationals unscathed, mostly. Chimiti and Broja returned to full fitness and making under 21 and full international appearances ahead of the derby on Wednesday. Mikalenko unfortunately picked up a knock and makes him a doubt. It didn't seem like it was as bad as Rebrov, Ukraine boss, initially thought, but it doesn't look like he's going to be fit in time for Wednesday's game, and potentially will also miss out the Arsenal game at the weekend as well. So that's a real blow, isn't it? Because he's had his critics, but he's our only fit left back, so we're going to be looking at potentially Ashley Young playing there. I'll talk about that in a little bit because there are other potential options, but that seems like the most obvious choice. Yao Virginia has come out today and said about his time at the club, and he loves everything about life at Everton, apart from not getting a lot of playing time. But it looks like he'll end up staying. He'll be offered a new contract, and if he is offered a new contract, it looks like he will sign it, and with the hope of getting more games in future. And that's it. Whenever he's come in, he's done really well, hasn't he? And it's just that he's got Pickford ahead of him. But he's in that tricky position now. If he did leave Everton, he'd have to probably go to get another top flight club. He'd probably have to go back to Europe somewhere, or drop down a league to get first team place. But he does seem that he's quite happy to stay at Everton and push for his place and hopefully get more game time next year. So I can see if we do start putting a little bit of focus on the cups again, he probably will get the nod there under Moyes next year if he does stay. So yeah, good luck to him, and I hope he does, because if he gets a chance, it means that he's performing well enough to get a chance, and if he gets to keep his place, it means he's outperforming Jordan Pickford, which is no mean feat. So you'd welcome that, wouldn't you? Speaking of Jordan Pickford, it was international break last week, and Pickford featured once again. Mikalenko featured, but went off injured. O'Brien made the senior debut for Ireland, putting in a solid performance in a 1-1 draw. James Garner played for the under-21s. Decore played for Mali. Beto featured twice, and Chimiti played for the Portugal under-21s, and Broja played as well and did well for Albania. So mostly unscathed, just that Mikalenko knock which is rather unfortunate, isn't it? So particularly with the game coming up. So the Everton news, quite a bit there that we've gone over. So I'm going to leave that there. We should have a lot more news coming quite thick and fast now because April is quite a busy month. March was horrendous for for Everton games there, wasn't it? So we've got they're coming thick and fast. The top six in a row. So yeah, so Liverpool on Wednesday, then Arsenal on Saturday. So yeah, I'll look ahead to the Liverpool game coming up, and then I'll do a recap on Thursday, Friday. Look ahead to the Arsenal game, but I'll be back in a sec anyway with that Liverpool preview. Here are our socials. Go and give us a like, follow, etc.
This is the Not Bitter, Just Better Everton podcast. If you haven't already, go and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/EFC Not Bitter, Just Better, or you can find us on Twitter at Just Better EFC.
So yeah, Wednesday, the Merseyside derby over at that monstrosity FC Big House, FC Greenhouse, FC Big Stand. Yeah, don't know whether we're going. I don't know. I hate it. Hate the way Blues are treated there. Been a few times, and they just conveniently leave you waiting outside, and just generally treated pretty poorly by their stewards and stuff. And it never used to be like that. And I've had quite a mixed bag of going there over the years. Saw the Jagielka equaliser, that screamer from the edge of the box a few years ago. But then I also there for a drubbing, 4-0 I think it was. And Sturridge got a few. Yeah, so I don't know how to feel about going there. I might just sit in and Segura and watch with the Blues there, and then hopefully I don't know. We'll see on the game anyway. So just going around, it smells as well. Uh, so 8 o'clock at that monstrosity, as I said before, 8 o'clock kickoff on Wednesday, and the last meeting. Was it that long ago? October 23rd, 2023. These seem like quite close to each other, these fixtures this time. I don't know whether that date's right there or whether I've been stitched up by my notes. But the Everton team potentially, we've got a lot of players coming back. So Chimiti and Broja, who came back in the last game, and both came on and put themselves about a little bit, and showed that they could offer something different. And then both came through the international break unscathed to potentially bolster the attack. And also this last few days as well, there's been pictures of Ndiaye and Dwight McNeil stepping up um, their full fitness journey as well. So it could be all changes. I don't know whether the Wednesday game's going to come too quick for Ndiaye, but it'd be nice if he had him on the bench, and if you did need him for 20 minutes at the end to come on, possibly against tired legs there. Really does offer something different, doesn't he? McNeil, less so, but maybe with Mikalenko potentially dropping out and Young coming in, he could offer a little bit more in front of Ashley Young when he double up on that side. Was maybe Harrison on the left. I don't know. There is potential there for a little bit of reshuffling. I wonder whether Brandweight might come in. Well, sorry, not might move over onto the left hand side of defence. We might end up having to go to a 3-5-2 or 5-3-4-1. How many players is that? That's too many players. um, yeah, 5-3-2-1. I think. I mean, yeah, and there could be a reshuffle there. Young on the left hand side, I can't say fills me with a whole lot of confidence against Salah at the moment. But Young's come in and done pretty well when he's been asked of this season. Last season, not so much. But you kind of what other options? As I say, potentially Brandweight on the left fullback. and then maybe either Young on the right or Patterson or Coleman if Coleman's back fully fit at right back. Um, Potential options there, but I don't know. I think that's a lot of reshuffling, isn't it? Whereas I think if Young comes in at left back, hopefully it won't come to that. We won't know until Moisey does the press conference tomorrow, and even then we won't know because he might have to leave it until Wednesday and make a late decision on that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Mikalenko shakes off his knock and manages to step it up for the Blues. If not, hopefully Young doesn't have any brain farts and gets sent off again. But I think he's turned it round a lot, Young, hasn't he? So I hopefully if he does come in, he can do a decent job for us. There might be another reshuffle. We've got that potential there. Does Lindstrom play on the right? Does Alcaraz play on the right? Does Harrison with Alcaraz on the left? I don't think that worked last time though, so I'd like to see just for that balance, Lindstrom and Harrison again, and then maybe Decore a little bit deeper. But then that means James Garner making way, and then that takes a little bit of the creativity out. But maybe you can counter that with a little bit more creativity from Alcaraz in the number 10 role and get him up closer to Beto. So potential there. The likelihood is it'll probably go with Decore and that number 10, Garner in front of the back four again, and then maybe Alcaraz or Lindstrom on the right. I think just for balance, I think it's more likely to be Lindstrom. Who knows though? But Beto up top, maybe Brozier could come in and do a job. He seemed to, he played on the right when he came on against West Ham, and Chimiti seemed to be drifting in from the left as well. So they could shake things up a little bit there. And Brozier, he needs to make an impact at some point, doesn't he? Otherwise, he's going to be going back to Chelsea, and he needs to make an impression now or never. He's got a handful of games left to do it this season. Chimiti's got a little bit longer, obviously, but Broja and Lindstrom and Harrison, they all need to start actually making game-changing contributions, or they're going to find themselves back on the bench at their parent clubs next year. So, um, as you know, I don't do predictions. Hopefully, if we manage to be disciplined throughout, no losing our heads. We've got a pretty solid defence generally. There was a couple of mistakes that led to their goals last time round. We can shore that up a little bit. Keep Salah quiet, although he didn't have a great game against us last time, and proved to be well, to say decisive for them. Was their star man still. So. Um, Oh, it's a depressing thought, unfortunately, as it always is when you're facing Salah. Um, but it doesn't look like Trent Alexander-Arnold will feature. I think he's nursing a knock, and he also might well have fallen out of favour after telling the club that he wants to leave to join Real Madrid in the summer. Boo hoo. Um, but you've got the attacking prowess of Salah Diaz, and well, even though Nunes is he's not the most composed in front of goal, he still offers a lot, doesn't he? And he's the butt of a lot of jokes at the moment, but he's still a handful. And even the likes of Jota's getting a lot of stick this year for them, and still a handful. It's just one of those. McAllister got the other goal for them last time. He's been one of their better players, and Szoboszlai, who I thought was absolute dog shit a while ago, but he's been proven to be again a real handful. So they got threats from all over, unfortunately, and that's why they're where they are in the league. But we're the form team in a sense going into this game. They went out to the Champions League and they went out. They lost in the Carabao Cup final. We're unbeaten in 9. Hopefully, we can continue that and take that into a 10th game unbeaten. Hopefully, with a win as well. We need to start turning these draws into wins. Not as crucial as it was earlier on before Moisey came in. when those draws, we were fighting for draws rather than now. We've had a couple of draws where we really should have won. So just a complete change in mentality. So if we can get Chimiti and Broja on there, get Beto to be a handful again, and then maybe, if he does the first 65, 70 minutes, and then we've got real options on the bench there. Hopefully they can come on, replace the tired legs, and cause them a few problems. As I say, don't do predictions, but all I can say is I hope we are still undefeated and celebrating a victory, either in the ground if we do go, or in Segura, and then it won't be as bad going into work on Thursday with a hangover. And then maybe put a dent in their title challenges, but I think that's a foregone conclusion now by the looks of things. But hopefully, as I say, 10 games undefeated, and we can take that into good form into the Arsenal game on Saturday. So anyway, waffled a little bit today. Out of practice, aren't I? Without a few weeks now without. Hopefully, Everton is out of practice on Wednesday. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Matty for sending me the voice note. As I've said a few times, feel free to send me your thoughts ahead of games or recaps on games, and I'll throw them in the podcast. And we'll start, whether it's video or voice notes or whatever. Again, I'll just say, as long as you're not calling me a warlord fruit, which I can handle. I'm just not going to include on the podcast. I'll just talk about it instead. So anyway, need to sneeze. I'm going to say thanks again, and I will catch you on Friday. Come on, you Blues!